Did you ever think that you would use a TV as a monitor? Well, after watching this video you might, so stick around to find out. Today I'll be reviewing the LG C2 42-inch that I've been using as a monitor for the past year. I'll be covering things like the quality and the performance and what it's like to own, especially as a monitor that can do everything basically. Things from gaming, to working, to watching movies, to listening to music, and etc. And after watching this video you can make a decision to see if it's the right TV monitor for you or not. Well, let's get started with the build quality of this TV. You have glass at the front, which I've had no issues with, but one thing to keep in mind about glass is that you're going to get a lot of reflections. So if you live somewhere with a lot of natural light or in a crazy studio with a lot of light, you're probably going to get some light reflected on this TV, and you need to decide if that's something you're okay with or not. Personally, I don't mind it. So that's the front. At the sides we have metal, which is really good, and I'll tell you why that's really good. I recently dropped this TV. Well, I didn't drop it, it dropped by itself. Don't blame it on me. I dropped the TV from a distance of, let's say, 15 centimeters, I think this is. So what happened was my monitor arm just gave out for some reason, and then bang, it just dropped. And yeah, at that moment I was worried that it was going to be broken. I would probably have to replace it. But when I came and I turned it on, surprisingly nothing happened to it. And I think that that's because of these metal bezels that you get around the TV. So good job, LG. At the back of this TV, you're going to get a lot of plastic. It's a plastic panel at the back, but that doesn't matter because it's at the back, you're never going to see it. So build quality, I would give it a 7-8 out of 10. Now you might be curious, what is the power consumption on this TV? It's a TV after all, it's bigger than a monitor. Does it use that much more power than a monitor? Well, yes and no. So the LG C242 has a moderate power consumption for an OLED TV, but it is higher than most monitors. According to my research, it consumes about 83 watts on average in SDR mode and about 139 watts in HDR mode. This means it cost me around $50 to $100 a year in Victoria. For reference, this is lower than the last year's LG C1 48-inch, which consumed about 105 watts in SDR and 173 in HDR. Overall, it is a relatively cheap TV to run. Your cost will vary, of course, depending on the number of hours and electricity price in your state. And also if you're mostly running it in SDR or HDR, that will make the biggest difference. Now, the display is where this TV shines, and it's one of the most important reasons why you're going to choose this over a monitor. The LG C2 has a 4K resolution, which gives amazing picture quality. It is the highest that you can go without diminishing returns these days. The refresh rate on this display, for those gamers that care about that, is 120 Hz. So what that means is it's going to fully support those new consoles that you have. For example, the PS5 or the new Xbox. It's going to support them at 4K 120 Hz. So this TV comes with an OLED display. So for those of you who don't know what OLED is and don't want to get too technical, in short words, I would say that OLED just gives you fewer blacks and more popping colors, let's say. Better looking colors. Because the individual pixels on this TV are lit by themselves and not by a local dimming zone. The brightness of this display gets to 700 nits maximum in SDR and 800 nits maximum in HDR, which makes this display capable of showing HDR10 content, which is really good for those new movies that are coming out or a AAA game title that you're trying to play with HDR. It truly looks amazing. However, there are also downsides to having an OLED display, and one of those downsides is the permanent risk of burn-in. But as OLED technology is improving, it's very unlikely that you will get burn-in in the, let's say, first 3 years that you own this display. So that's not really a problem. Plus, LG gives you a warranty for the first few years, depending on where you buy your TV. So if it does get burning, you can get it replaced. Now this is great for gaming. You have HDR10, which is amazing to look at. You have an OLED display, which gives you great colors with very low latency, almost instantaneous latency. I struggle with that word. You have 4K, which looks amazing if your current graphic card can support it, and you have 120 Hertz, which makes every game look twice as smooth as 60 Hertz. So honestly, when it comes to gaming, there is nothing to complain about here. And you do get NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility, so it's not G-Sync Ultimate, but you do get G-Sync compatibility, which is honestly still really good for a TV. And you do get AMD FreeSync Premium as well, so you will get that flicker-free gaming. So yeah, when it comes to gaming, there is not much to say about this. It's just, it impresses me every time I look at it. It looks almost perfect. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you will need to get a monitor arm for this if you plan to use it for work. Because what happens is, with the original stands that this has, it's going to be sitting very low here, and you're often going to be like finding yourself looking down at it, which is not what you want to do. You want the TV to be level to your eyes. So what I suggest is, if you are going to use it for work, you will get a monitor arm, and it looks very comfortable to look at. Now obviously that 42-inch display is going to give you a lot of room for different multitasking, and you also have a 4K display, so if you're a creator, this has very accurate colors and it's amazing to look at, honestly. Now, because this is a TV, not a monitor, it does come with a remote, which you'll be using quite a while, not gonna lie. You can see that on the remote, you have a power button, and then you have your numbers, and then you have a volume controller, channel controller, things like mute, home button, back button, settings, and then you have these shortcuts for Netflix, Disney, Alexa, movies, Prime Video, and Google. Now this is one of the best remotes I've tested on a TV, and the tracking on this remote that it comes with is actually surprisingly very accurate, and I do find myself using it a lot instead of using the individual buttons. I just use this tracking thing, and it's very accurate, like I said, and I've had zero problems with this, honestly. And every button in the remote is very snappy, and usually it doesn't take long to display something that you want. So, thumbs up for that. So in conclusion, the LG C2 42-inch is a great option if you're a gamer or content creator who wants to use a TV as a monitor, because it has many gaming features and a great display for content creation. And you will not need to get a separate display for work and content consumption, because this is great for work if you have a monitor arm, and it has a great display for content consumption. So it truly is a do-it-all TV. Now the drawbacks of this TV as a monitor is that it doesn't have DisplayPort. So you will need to be on a newer 30 series or higher graphics card or a new gen console to take advantage of the 4K 120Hz display. Another drawback that I talked about is the lack of any ergonomics on this TV. So you will need to buy a monitor arm to really use it as a daily work, content creation, gaming, and everything. But overall, the benefits far outweigh the cons for me, and which is why I own one, and I really do recommend it.